Hello, and thanks for joining. I really appreciate you downloading this Marketing ROI Calculator. I can't tell you how excited I am for you. My name is Jeremy Rupp. I'm with Spekktrum Real Estate, and this tool is going to change your life when it comes to actually understanding where your marketing dollars are going. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move my melon off to the side here, shrink it down a little bit, and we're going to dive right into this thing. And please always know that you can reach out and ask us any questions, engage. We have phone number. I'll put the link down below where you can schedule a consultation call, so on and so forth. But nonetheless, let's get started. Let's dig in. So what we have going on here is a tool that will allow you to do several things. So number one is that you can, if you've never launched a marketing campaign before, what you could do is compare 3 different scenarios. That's how it's set up currently. Campaign 1, 2, and 3. Number 2 is, let's say that you have already launched 1 or 10 or 12 or 16 or what have you, is that you could have a 3-month rolling amount of time where you compare, say this is January, this is February, this is March, so on and so forth. So there's a couple different scenarios that we can use right here, and a few things that are important to know. Number 1 is that we start over here, okay? This is you and your average gross customer value amount. Now, keep in mind that in our first scenario where we've never created a marketing campaign before, what we would do is use what our current values are and our typical commissions and our split with our broker and so on and so forth, right? But fast forward, and if we're comparing month to month to month, say January, February, March, what we would do is potentially change this a little bit as it changes or not, right? So keep that in mind. All right, let's dig in. So everything in red, you have the ability to mess with, but everything in black, you cannot. It's locked, so you can't, quote unquote, mess it up, if you will, all right? So right now what this is set for, this is currently set for our performance that we have on our campaigns. If you want to reach out to us or learn more about that, feel free. We'll put a link down below. But nonetheless, that is what this is intended to represent, is where we're at right now, to give you a good idea of how everything is going, okay? So first off, this page is intended for clicks. If we come down here, we can see digital ROI via clicks. Now the next one is going to be for calls, and the one after that we'll do postcards and billboards, but I don't mean to be too poo-poo-y on those, but we just typically don't see those hold a candle performance-wise, as opposed to the digital performance that we're seeing, at least on our end. So nonetheless, we're going to dig in. So over here, let's say that I have it set at 300,000, but let's make it dynamic and put it at 275. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is say, what's a typical split in your area? Okay. 2.7 is good. I'm going to put 2.8, excuse me, just for the heck of it here. Okay. Keyboard's being a little wonky, but we'll figure it out. And the next part is your brokerage split. Okay, now what you're going to see as we go through this is that this plays an obvious huge role in your ROI, but in some other tools you'll see how much it can play in just your overall income as well. So what we're going to do is just keep it right here at 80% and move on. So in this scenario, we're going to do a $1,000 budget, a $2,000 budget, and a $3,000 budget. So again, these numbers are based on what we're currently doing right now, our averages across hundreds of accounts across the country, which means that, and this is what's called a pay-per-click program. And so there are impressions, there are clicks, there's calls, there's all sorts of stuff, right? So right now, for every dollar, we're getting 43 impressions per dollar. Okay, excuse me, 43.37. Okay. So what I did is I did a multiple here. So I put in $1,000. That kicked that in. The next thing I'm going to do is our click-through rate is higher than 2%, but Google, if you can Google it, Google says that if you have a 2% or higher, that you're doing well in terms of a click-through rate. And so what's a click-through rate? So the impressions are the number of time an ad is shown to someone. The click-through rate represents the number of times that it's shown to someone and they click on your ad. Okay. So with the 2%, again, ours is a little bit higher than that, but we're going to be conservative and use that. That means we have 867 clicks based off of this $1,000 per month campaign. All right, so the next variable here is a conversion rate. So what we're talking about here is of all of these clicks, excuse me, actually I have a typo right here. I need to fix this. Hope you don't mind if I fix this right here on the fly. I don't want to have a typo in the system. Okay, so estimated number of clicks, right? So we have the budget, here's the ad, it's showing it to people. 2% of the time they click on it and they go to your website, all right? Now, what we have here is how many times of those clicks the people turn into a customer, okay? So we used a 0.5% conversion ratio, which means that for every 200 clicks to your website from your ad, there's a whole backstory here that will make this make sense. That means that 1 out of every 200 clicks will turn into a customer. We believe that that's very conservative. Again, on your end, that will have a lot of variables. Our customers and ourselves, we do better than that, but that's a whole nother conversation for another day. So right here, what we have is 4.3 customers off of a $1,000 budget. And, whoa, what did I do? I have some bad math over here, everybody. I told you that my keyboard was being wonky, and I wasn't kidding, was I? Okay, here we go. Oh gosh, the percent took off and disappeared. Okay, so let's get back on track. So that means, so what happens here is that we have a commission GCI for you on average of $6,160. Again, we've taken out the split, we've taken out your broker split, and that came over here. See that right over here. So now if we have 4.3 transactions off of that $7, this is the income that's generated from that. Got it? Then we have our marketing spend of 1,000. And then we have what is our ROI right here. So basically right now what we have is a scenario where unless we change these numbers, we are not going to be able to have a different ROI that we would compare to one another, right? So if we increase the budget, we'll have the same ROI, but we'll have different number of transactions, okay? But if you came in here and you changed some of these things, then you have the ability to find out if this is something that's going to work for you, right? And you know, some people are going to have a 1%, some people are going to 1% here or a 4%, and some people are going to have a 0.01% or a 2. And really what it comes down to is there's a lot of variables here. We have all sorts of tips and tricks on how to increase this particular number, as well as our ad team does a very good job of making this number be as good as it possibly can be. And every market is different, but the crafting of the ad is everything. And then so on and so forth. So if you have any questions, please let us know. If you'd like, reach out and we can go over some of these other options here, which this is calls. Actually, let's do it really quickly. Let's do that. Okay, so the next part is based on calls. So we change up the budget a little bit over here on the right-hand side. These numbers are going to remain populating this again, right? So we have 2,000, a 3,000, a 5,000. Right now, our impressions, again, we're using this number to create that. So this click-through rate is representing the number of times this ad is showing up and people click on the call button, okay? So you can visualize a Google pay-per-click ad, and let's say you put in flooring, all right? Now there's 4 ads at the top. There's potentially 4 ads at the top of your page for this particular scenario. They have the little green, at least on my screen, they have the little green thing that says ad. So what this is saying is that 86,000 times that can show up based on $2,000, okay? Now what I'm saying is that 0.034% of the time people click in that little ad, people are clicking on the little call button and or the phone number, okay? So it's the same ad as it was over on this page, okay? Except for that there's a button within that ad that says call, which is very interesting and very cool. So other buttons that could be map, or it could be of various profit centers for a business. Maybe you have a buyer button and a seller button or an investment property button and so on and so forth within your ad. That is an option. What I'm suggesting here is that there's a phone number on all of them, and sometimes there's even a call button aside from the phone number being listed, and this is the number of times people call off of it. Okay, this is our number across against hundreds of accounts. So of these impressions, that means that this budget would generate this amount of phone calls. So keep in mind here that when we're talking about this conversion right now, where we're going from calls to customers, that this person has typed in, say, realtor in your area, and based on where they are in their geographical area and the campaign that you've chosen, they've typed in realtor, your ad has shown up, and now they've specifically clicked on the little button to call you. Okay? So having a higher conversion rate on that, I hope that makes logical sense for you guys. But nonetheless, this is the conversion ratio that we're going to use here. I've seen people get up into the 30s, 40s, and 50s on these, but I've also seen them be lower. But I'm going to use 10% for right now because, and again, you can change it. It's in red. You can change it. So what that would mean is this would generate 2.9 transactions off of that budget. Okay, so again, this is your GCI. This autofills over here. Right here is the math of this times this. 2.9 transactions in a month times this dollar amount equals this much income off of this investment. All right. So really quickly, what I did is I played around with these just to represent that they can be different. 856, 462, 619. And as you can see, I changed a few things in red, right? I just messed around with it a little bit. I kept the impressions the same as a constant based on the 43, but these I changed out quickly, okay? Now another thing that you could do is you could come over here and say, all right, I make, my average transaction is 500,000. Now check out what your ROI looks like. And there's all sorts of things you can do to play around with this. Now, next we're going to get into the traditional media, and as you can see, it's the same steps. The ROIs, these are typical ROIs that we're seeing on some of the campaigns that that we're measuring and or being a part of to see what's going on and strategize. And as you can see, they're just not a tremendously great ROI. On this side, on the billboard, TV, and newspaper, quite honestly, some of these are really difficult to even track. But nonetheless, we do our best to try to track them. You know, what's interesting about digital is that one reason that we really like it, you guys, is that it's very transparent. So you can see a path from your dollar going out, going into whatever medium you choose, an ad product or what have you, and then it coming back, and it's very transparent, and that's the way we can calculate our return on investment. And that's exciting for us. Those are the things that we enjoy, but we'll move on, let you go play around with your tool here, and have an awesome day. Thank you again for downloading this. We hope that it adds tons of enjoyment to your marketing analysis. And leave some comments below. There's a few links down there to check out some other videos that we have and so on and so forth. We hope you have an awesome day, and thank you again. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.